We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing is the previous meeting minutes.
There's I see my name on the low density subdivision ordinance A. There's a couple things that I'm not sure I said exactly here, but I'm thankful for who did the notes. I'm not trying to nitpick things.
No, that was me,
Yeah.
a couple hours ago watching YouTube, and I was just
Okay.
watching and working at the same time. So yeah, if there's an error there, we can correct that for sure.
Yeah, I did bring it up, low density. I know, I think it says that the ordinance was done in the 90s. It says 70 years, but it's actually 97, I believe. And yeah, I just brought it to everybody's attention just because of, we do have that, and not to pour cold water or anything on subdivisions, but, just the naming of the subdivision. And whenever you get multiple lots like that, that are, I think that the ordinance says it's for marketing purposes or something like that, that needs to be named, and just make sure that the property's not landlocked and stuff, and needs to be reviewed by the administrator somehow, make sure everything's good before it gets recorded.
Yeah, I think that's what I think mentioned in there, just to protect the landowners. I think that you did the right thing there. So is that the only correction, is the year?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure, I'll make sure to correct that.
But there was a fee, there was a fee, to do that.
Okay. Anything else on that one? Anybody else have anything? I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve those.
I make a motion. I second
All those in favor? Okay. And then we have the agenda. Any additions want to make to that?
it. On the 5C, I also have somebody call me about the campsite at Derby, so add that in there.
Ask for a motion to approve that.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the addition of the campsite at Derby under 5C.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, old business. One of the things we kind of touched on, which was in the minutes, was the French Ridge /37, that subdivision. Since we had been here last, which was in April, I did reach out to that developer. I know the discussion was, because it has changed so many different times on what they planned to do with it. I think there's still potentially some changes. I did have a verbal conversation with them, just expressed, hey, this, and they said the same. They were not trying to go around anything. They had visited our courthouse several times to try to get the answers. So I did explain to them that we would need to maybe have a special meeting on it, to have them present if they've got this set into place, what they actually want to finalize to do with it, and maybe go through that, and then also collect those fees and everything that's involved in that. He was completely complacent to everything that we might want from him. I do think they're looking to, I don't know if they're getting as much feedback on the sale of it, so I'm not sure what they're going to ultimately, is they're going to maybe absorb some of those together and make small, I don't know. But I did ask him to maybe see about doing a meeting. If he was willing to do that, we would probably need to have the meeting dates in order to do for us. So maybe we would agree to what date would be the best and see if that would work for him. I think he's pretty flexible on time frames. He's a farmer, so he said certain seasons are more busy, but
It's probably busy right now.
exactly. So
I believe the way the ordinance says here is, we could do that in an email. I believe low density is when it comes to high density, whenever, something like that, you could look at it, maybe it just has to be signed off by the administrator. I don't know, but I don't know how that would be, you being president, I don't know if we could just do it on the email chain or something, but, that's just my thoughts or something, but.
Maybe to make it with all of the non-disclosed, we can maybe have a special meeting, a quick one, if that way he can present all of his, survey, all of his mapping, things like that. I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if we can do that in an email or not. Is that just-
I'd go to that special meeting.
Okay, just to make sure, if he's proceeding forward as he has advertised that he's wanting to do, maybe he needs to finalize that for us, and if it's gonna be something different.
Maybe it would make it more accessible to the public if they're intending to build or looking to build or
Sure.
what have you.
So I think if everybody's okay with maybe just doing a special meeting on that, I know that's part of the description, everybody's gotta go further. So that was kind of going over that, I just wanna let you know, I did touch base, I did not send out an official letter, because after discussion with him, after our meeting, he was kind of back and forth on what the final thing would be, so he said that. So there's that, the second one, B under 4, finalizing those minimum square foot. I know we've talked about that several times. We did, as a board, approve to reduce what the current dwelling is. I did.
For the tiny house.
For the tiny home, we're reducing that current square footage. I have, the Attorney Foster's, email here, as well as there's about 25 pages, so I didn't print that for everybody, we can pass that around. And then what step 1, 2, and 3 is, sorry, I'll back to you guys. 1, 2, and 3 is what we have to do to finalize that into an actual ordinance. So if you wanna pass that around, because that's gonna be, but kind of seeing what our next steps are. To my understanding by the email, our first step is something similar to this proposed draft, which is I went ahead and drafted something. This is a proposal we have to do to send in front of the commissioners so they can review it. And then I think they have 90 days to act upon it, so there's a timeline there, but, Mr. Foster attached in that on the backside is about 25 pages of the legalities terms. But in a nutshell, he kind of summarized step 1, 2, and 3 in the front cover page. And that's, I believe, to my understanding, kind of what the first step has to be. We have to propose this, what we plan on doing. I copied and pasted what the current dwelling, and then what we're entertaining to do, so making sure that looks correct to everyone as well.
To speed that up some, if you would just email this to the commissioners
That'd be fine.
and let them look at it, and then we can get it on the agenda.
Okay.
And it would speed up the process.
Okay, that'd be great.
Because he's already looked at it and approved it, but Attorney Foster has.
He was explaining to us what our steps are.
Yeah.
He said we can do so, this is just the steps. I just wanna make sure I have everything
Okay.
I's dotted, T's crossed, making sure that we've got that correct in order to finalize that. I know we've had a few individuals in getting permits that have questioned some of that. I have expressed that we are looking to reduce that, but it's not final, so legally, I guess they cannot continue to do so until it's finalized. To build a smaller version of what they want to do. That's played out. It's lengthy. We can just bullet pointing mainly what ordinance it's found in, why we have to do it, and there's, like I said, it's just all the
Because you say statutes, yeah.
And then he just kind of summarized that at the front cover sheet, step 1, 2, and 3. So I feel like that first part is what they're asking us as a board to do, which I can email all this to you guys as well, so you can read it more thorough before you make any type of decision on it.
Has there been a big demand or question of wanting these tiny homes?
We have had, since I started more, taking in applications, we have had several questions, in regards to what they can do or what type of structures they can live in. We have had a couple that I can think of that were questioning square footage. I did go into the ordinance currently. Just kind of walk through that a little bit with them. I did tell them that we're looking to change that, but it's not finalized. And so I think they were looking to do something similar as what we
I just
all
didn't know if there was a lot of interest in it or not, but it's coming. It is coming.
I think there's that. I think currently, I feel like I've been through this county, you guys have too. There's probably a lot of current situations that are already doing that. This would just let them fit in. I think as far as doing it the correct way, I don't know how that would look to notice that, but I think currently there's, I mean, what I would call it formerly was a utility shed. They're not finishing them out for tiny homes.
Right.
I think there's already some structures like that where people are permanently residing.
Guaranteed.
Yeah,
Oh, I know
so
there is.
I'm a realist on that stuff. I know they're currently, so I think some of them they're currently already doing, how we're finding all of that is a different topic.
So we don't need to put anything in here about, facilities, or it has to be a permanent?
However you guys feel on
I
that.
don't know, I didn't know if,
I just pulled.
I know we talked about it, everyone to be sure it had, and we decided to, I'm sorry, I'm rehashing who said that the height limit, we took that out, right?
Is that on that? Leave that in there? I don't know.
I didn't think I saw it.
I pulled it from the current ordinance and copied what the dwelling, that's the only place I can.
Square feet, so is that all we're changing is the minimum square feet?
Correct.
And then we could, so that, because that's all these,
There was something about
everything else
porches.
will say, yeah, the porch, whether it is
We want
counted or it's
the
not
porch,
counted.
the square footage, right?
Right, we didn't wanna mention anything out
Yeah.
there. Here's the current one, which is highlighted in pink there. That's the only place I could find it in our ordinance where it's mentioned. And it does mention about, I believe, porches and things. We've just removed that unless I did not.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to remember, I just know that we're.
I know it was mentioned about sanitation.
Yes.
Obviously, all of these structures, the way our current permits work,
They have to go through the health
we have
department
to do
first.
that anyhow. So
Okay.
just, so if she's approved that, then our next step is that. So we're kind of out of that.
Okay,
anyhow,
that's good.
And making sure, and making.
Because that was the reason we had to ask people to move previously, because they didn't have a permanent sanitation.
Right.
And so I just want to be sure we didn't, I was sure we didn't end up there again.
Correct. And I think that with doing it this way, making sure sanitation permits have to come in before we can actually permit a building permit on a residential dwelling.
That's the health department thing.
And
And
so
so we had no, also said it had to be a minimum height, and
there is that mentioned somewhere else.
then about a loft, could or could not, if it didn't have that, so I think all we decided to change was the square footage and leave the rest of it the same, right?
That's my remembrance of it, because I
Okay.
didn't, we don't inspect, so who's going out to make sure the law,
Yeah.
we weren't doing that,
So we
so,
took the porches off.
correct.
Right,
They want square footage.
It gets a little muddled and
it does get, it gets hard to understand.
it does, even with the building permits, I'm finding some of that difficult in
Is,
even the draft.
you know, people are, individuals are taking
It's
this comments
okay.
right now.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Individuals are taking connexes right now. Connex is a
Oh, yeah.
metal building, that's a metal shed, and they're making homes out of them.
Like
And how-
apartment homes,
I mean, they're taking, I know one, there's a,
almost like
It's-
semi-trailers.
yeah, it's sitting this way, and he took one and went across this way, and then there's another one sitting this way, so there's three. And he made a home out of it.
Buying property in California.
I think you're finding that, well, I mean, affordability to have to own a residential structure is very expensive right now,
Right.
square footage wise, and I think people are trying to find.
But I mean,
less cost.
permit wise, do they have to have permits for those?
They're supposed to.
The dwelling in
Any
there.
additions to a property is supposed to be a permit.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I know what one's that, but.
Yeah, any additions or improvements to a property is supposed to be permitted technically, but having the resources to find all that or comply with all that, although I will say, as I get further along, there's been, I think, an uptake in permits, but I didn't follow up this one.
The assessor's office always finds. Just need to follow that.
Well, ironically, there's quite a few that I just visited that were not anywhere on the property cards, so they've been there for years. So I don't think that's necessarily the case either.
It's
a good idea.
In the air.
Maybe they just drive the accessible roads.
Possibly, I'm finding Rome is a pretty accessible road though, so. I don't know. So, as far as that goes,
Some roads we don't wanna go down.
for sure. So I think that's I mean, the idea, I think this is going to probably be continued into our next meeting because we have to get some of this sent to commissioners to fully finalize. Do you guys see anything within that first proposal that we need to add or subtract to maybe, or that could be step one for me to send that out? I mean, I guess that will be the first step is to approve that portion of it.
Why did we set that at 480? Refresh my memory.
Because originally down here in the dwellings, it says 480. It says the minimum gross public floor 80, including porches. We just removed the porches part. So right now they have it to where it's a minimum gross living and it's further detailed into how to get there. It has to be 800 square foot, and then for the a minimum gross public area of 480, which to include porch decks. They have things mentioned in here that
That was part-time though, if it wasn't a permanent dwelling. Like the cabin.
one
I
family having them, it doesn't say anything about
No,
that.
I think what it had to, the indoor space before had to be 480, but you had to have a minimum of a certain amount more than that.
You're right, it says, you're correct, then it says something about seasonal, yeah. So I think that was the idea, just allowing it, that's where the number came in, was from the current structure for seasonal.
Yeah, there's one in Troy that I promise you is not 480 square feet.
There's quite a few throughout the county, which, I mean, it's,
Yeah, I mean, that's,
so I don't know how we're thinking on this. I think this is just step one. I don't know if we need to.
I make a motion that Mandy sends the proposal as written to the commissioners to satisfy step one.
I say.
All those in favor? New business under 5, I don't know if it's floating around or I have it here.
Right.
We got it.
I just did kind of a summary sheet of what we brought in, just to give a little general idea of what we're doing. I think the new home construction was positive. There's several new homes being built, and then of course, there's quite a few I'm finding, of course, everybody's in post beam or detached type garage. It's pretty common in our community. And then there's also electricity being ran. We do question that right now just because I think with Southern Indiana Power making that mandated to have a permit to get electricity hooked up is very beneficial for our office.
Right.
We're able to ask the questions what they're using the electricity for. I have found pretty quickly on a couple of cases where they're using electricity to build a home, but they weren't going to get the build a home permit part of it. So we were able to get them a permit, get the right steps for that. I think some was just lack of education on some of that. But that's been beneficial in getting a few of these addressed as what are you using electricity for. Some of them have been just campgrounds or they're hooking up a barn that's already there, that sort of thing. But
What is a EFAFF?
it's my poor handwriting last name. I'm certain of it. I'm not sure what you're reading.
I can't even pronounce it.
I have put in last names. I try to make notes up there. That's my summary. That's my terrible handwriting.
PFAFF.
There's a
P in there.
PFAFF. Yeah.
Well, there ain't no P.
That's probably my terrible handwriting.
No,
and that's
I
your lunch
read
break.
it. I'm going.
Those are the summary sheets that I sent in for the accounting purposes. And I did not take ownership, so there's that. So that's the new permits. I just like to do a summary so everybody kind of knows this is what we're bringing in, this is what we're doing, that sort of thing. I did talk to on that a little bit, Commissioner Cole, a little bit earlier about making sure, I think right now the way the funds are set up, we were supposed to have like a non-revolving account. I don't know if that ever into fruition, so he's working on making sure that does come to fruition and finalizes for us.
If I'm thinking correctly, I think it has.
Okay.
But now, don't quote me on that.
Okay. So that was one thing I did question, since I want to make sure that we're, on the way our account side is structured, so that we can maybe be more self-sufficient. We're just rolling this maybe for a project later down the road. So as far as that goes, on B under 5, corrections to the current application. I am finding, now that we have taken that application and applied it to actually what we're doing every day, I know originally we had approved that, that was something that the footwork had been done previously, I think had gathered from other counties, things of that nature. And it was a very nice application. I'm finding that it's becoming a little bit confusing for landowners filling it out. It's asking for some additional things we don't really require, such as licensor numbers and things. We don't require that. And then there's some questions on there that would be more if we had an inspector, and we don't require that. There's even a clause that they were signing off on that was talking about second inspection and things like that for Violet. We just aren't doing that. So I was going to maybe see about restructuring it a little bit. I did print off our former one, made some notations, and then kind of the new structure. I just think it's just too many. I'm finding that landowners are very confused. They're saying that what I need to fill out here, I'm doing a lot of explaining for things that really does not pertain. Honestly, currently we're just skipping a lot of it because it's not required. If someone wanted to build their own home in Perry County, they may do so. There's no requirement to have a permit or a licensor to do so. So when they're asking for all of these details about electric codes and things, we don't require that as we're standing right now. Not that future we might, but we do not right now. And so I was going to see about possibly entertaining the idea of doing a little bit of an adjustment to our current application and removing some of that, which we can look if you guys want to take time to look. I did print. The first one is our current one. Second one is the proposed. I wish I printed more, but it's quite a lot of paper. It was just things like he was asking for something as simple as on the affidavit for structure. For example, if they don't have a survey and they just need to make sure that they're in their boundaries and things of that nature, it's asking for a notarized. I mean, we don't really need that notarized. We just need them to sign off that what they're saying is true and accurate. Some of that kind of things we removed, or I'm suggesting to remove. And then as the permit goes along, it was a little confusing because they're double addresses. Well, the second address is the same as the first, just, you can see some of that just cleaned it up a little bit, more or less, for ease of filling it out for the general public. So that's just something we can maybe look over and discuss. I don't know if that's something that you guys have looked online to see about filling that out, or if you guys have it fill that out.
So do we need to capture the license of the builder if they are using a professional home builder for future issues? That we can get hold of them?
The only problem I see is with us not having an inspector, we're not doing that. What application would we need that for?
I don't know if somebody would have a complaint later.
Or like have a
Yeah.
contact information?
Yes.
And I think I could have left a spot on there as who is building it or what person is, so that we could have some sort of contact.
Yeah,
But it's
that-
asking
yeah.
for like license and several things, and like their full name, address, phone number. I mean, it was
Yeah,
like.
because you have to be, am I thinking right, that you have to be licensed in Tell City or Perry County to build here? So like somebody from out of town can't just come in and build unless they go through first and get on that list of contractors and all that stuff. So this is a way to make sure they're on the contractor list.
For Tell City, but not the county.
County's not like that.
I'm not aware of unless I'm missing that somehow.
Just Tell City, okay.
Yeah, within so that 2-hour jurisdiction that
Right.
Tell City has, that is a requirement. Tell City does have an active list. You have to be licensed and bonded.
Okay.
The county, as it sits right now, to my
Does not
knowledge,
have that, okay.
does not have that,
Okay.
which is why I'm wondering on the collection of it.
We do if it's a contract bid, that if on.
Correct,
on it
or,
needs
yeah,
to-
more like a commercial use.
Sure.
But just for residential, if they just want to build his own home by himself without, he can do so, so, that's the way it sits now, which is great. I think,
As far as an inspector, home inspector, we do have one here in Perry County.
we're more talking, like, Tell City has, building administrator and a home, like, he does inspections. So, for example, if there's electricity being ran to a property, or they're changing out a meter or a panel, you have to pull a permit first, then he has to come in and inspect it when that licensed contractor is finished. We do not have that now. Southern Indian Power does look it up, and I'm sure there's regulations that they have, but the county building administration, there's nothing required for us to inspect to make sure that they use the proper wire, the proper conduit, things like that. Same with, foundations, we don't want to check all that stuff. It's just not what we have currently in place for a county official. If that makes sense.
Yes, I know there's one guy that does it, he's, he lives up there, right? He came here from Arizona.
Arizona, yeah, Justin Angel.
Yeah, and he is busy all the time,
I
day
heard
and
such
night,
a foundation.
day and night.
And there's quite a few private home inspection companies, and if you wanted your home, say you wanted somebody to build it and have it inspected, you could do so on your own terms, but the county does not have something of that nature. So,
It's not like the man, he's the guy.
well, that's what they get paid for. But,
Mhm.
So that would be something as we pass that around, just to try to figure out, I don't know, like I said, it might take more than just this meeting just to go over that a little bit, but I do think we're gonna need to do a little bit of readjusting, maybe not all of that, but just to make it a little bit more user friendly. Right now we have multiple pages. I have looked at a couple of other smaller communities surrounding us. There's a little bit more simplified. I know some of the bigger counties with larger, more resources probably have a little bit more. They have different structure. Not that I don't want to completely delete everything, just kind of going over the actual flexibility, to make it a little more user friendly.
There was an old change, and we go, we need to.
Sure, yeah, and if our structure changes as well, that would be something to change. And hopefully, the idea would be that we grow so much, we need an inspector and all the things that are involved there, but right now we just don't have that.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to add things to their plate to try to come up with. I would say that's probably 30 or 40% of the phone calls, so are, hey, I'm on here filling this out, does it need this, or
Mhm.
and things like the deed. I don't need a copy of the deed. If I can pull, I pulled right now when they come in, I pulled up on the GIS.
Right.
If they're the name that matches the property card, that's all I really need. I don't need to see the full deed of it. And so they're going and paying for deeds, bringing it in. You know, it's just extra steps I don't think necessarily we need unless you guys feel like we need to do some of that. Now I have had once or twice where the applicant information didn't match the deed. It was recently sold and surveyed off, and so then I did ask them to pull that new deed to confirm that they were the landowner and also.
Yeah, that takes time, it's,
Sure.
you know, it's,
Sure.
it's a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
So
long as we're checking the name.
Yeah.
just making sure that whoever's out there making additions actually owns the property, and the GIS is the way it's structured is the property card matches it, and 9 times out of 10 it does match, but there, you know, sometimes where it just hasn't been recorded fully, but.
There's a form out there, banks, called survey location report. And basically, if there's a bank, you know, if they go and they get a loan for a house, it's a certification the surveyor does to make sure that the structure is on the lot. And banks do that a lot, but, you know, I don't know what the county, you know, would have to really need to require. I mean,
What would it fall under? That wouldn't fall under our jurisdiction though.
no,
If we give them a permit to build a house, they put it on somebody else's
Yeah.
property line.
yeah, we don't, yeah, have a good solve.
Don't come back and ask me.
Have a good solve, that's all I tell you.
Yeah. They're fine.
I see you out there.
On that bridge
I
going
see
in.
you out there with fans off.
Do you guys have the new addition down there?
Oh,
Where was?
it's been done.
It's been done,
Yep.
yes.
It has been done.
So yeah, I think that's some of the liability portions of not having a county inspector is, I mean, there's current situations within our local area that are currently facing some things that it does create quite a bit of liability. You have to have somebody knowledgeable enough to know about all things from conflict.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be very difficult to do.
You probably have the best understanding because you're the ones that do the permits.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I just feel like sometimes less is more, but also still fulfilling what we need from them. I just think that some of those spaces are just too consuming for people. I mean, I was asking for, like, is it electric 2020 code or, I don't even know the answer to some of that, you know, so making sure we're answering what they need and. getting
Someone
from-
called me, well, not too long ago, and asked me, said, do you need a permit to build fence for your cattle? And I went, oh, no,
Technically,
well, it was there.
it's already there, yeah.
It was there, but there's not much left of it. We're just replacing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the technically, supposedly, even, I know that some of these this past year have been cell tower additions and things, and I did talk to the assessor even on some of this, and she said, well, sometimes they'll even want to add fencing and stuff, but, I mean, they assess it differently, and so we.
I can see if you put up a big vinyl fence all around and all that, but
Well, and ironically, I'll come up to that a little bit, but even in the flood zone, some people were building fences or things of that nature, and it's actually, the state comes down for that out there. So it's a whole thing, so knowing what they're building and what area to ensure, it's helpful to keep our flood.
the place is a different story.
Everybody look at that. So I don't know if anybody if they would like to table it and look into that further, or, you know, otherwise trying to do alterations to that. So making a motion to approve that, I'll take care of first finalizing that. And getting that to Anja, that would be something we could have him to even interact to him, Anja to get on, and I'll let put it on our website as well.
Just make the changes.
To make these, yes, the current changes from
Within that
forward
process.
to current.
Just simplify it. My next motion.
One second.
All in favor?
Okay.
The last thing on our agenda that I have, so it's been an interesting, couple weeks. Rome, everyone knows where Rome's at. There's a campsite up there now that's been named, previously, it was Mr. Ninehouse, who has since passed, and it was operating, I think, a little small. It's probably more, not as commercialized. I think it was more just for local people to camp. That's probably some friends of the landowner, that sort of thing. I'm not saying there were not structures. I think there was utilities there and maybe septic holding tank is what I'm understanding. Since then, according to the DNR who I spoke to this week, there was a complaint filed, I think somewhere around last year, from one of the neighboring properties, is what I've been told. The new owners that purchased this property approximately 2 to 3 years ago, they've been developing it. I visited the site Monday of last week.
Is this when you go into Rome to the left?
Yeah, it kind of goes around the left and all the way down closer to the riverfront.
That thing's huge.
It's becoming.
Mhm.
So, they asked me to come out to take a look at it. Health and sanitation from Perry County went there, DNR met there, state sanitation, one other state official, along with the landowners. The complaint was filed a year ago. I'm just finding out about it this month, so I've not been abreast of what's going on until just this month. They asked us to come visit. I'm not sure my role in that, but I went out there, spent some time looking at the property. The complaint was filed because there was some sort of tanks being buried, according to the first statement. I think there was just some quarrel probably with the neighbors with the activity that was out there. When I went out there right now, it's basically some gravel roadways, what looks like campsite structure utilities. So there's a post and then electric hookup on each parking area. So that's, and then they have redug out, I guess, a larger portion of what used to be a small pond up there is now a larger pond. DNR was involved, because this whole thing is in flood zone. Now, in saying this, I've never permitted anything out there as far as our board is concerned, because anytime it's in flood, that's over our head anyhow. DNR has to be contacted first. So they have talked to him, he has given permits, and what I'm understanding is they've given a permit from DNR to do certain things out there. Sanitation is working locally and on a state level, because once it's, I'm understanding 3 or more, it's a campsite. So then once it's a campsite, it's a commercial type sanitation. So the state came down to go over that with them as well. I was kind of educated on some of the things, but also it was 2 hours of walking that property with them to go over everything that they needed to talk about. I don't have anything out there to my knowledge that our board would have needed to approve or building and zoning.
Is it zoned for campground?
It is,
Zone agricultural and
I think so,
program.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's zoned according to the proper zoning.
Okay.
I remember when this all came about, it was a company or an individual or something local.
Correct.
That he came in there and what they were doing, what brought everything to a head is that company was bringing super heavy equipment across that box culvert, that concrete box culvert. And that's the only escape route for those people that live back there. So I had to go up there and there was some damage to the box culvert. And that's county tax dollars paying for that. And then that's considered a bridge, so they can inspect that. And that's what brought this all about.
So you know a little bit about, this is, like, our portion that we looked at was what he was working on. I didn't realize he also caused damage to other things. I think it's an ongoing situation up there.
Yeah.
In saying that, when DNR came down, nothing up there has been permitted
Mhm.
from
It
DNR,
wasn't then.
including there's 2 residential structures sitting right next to it. Which I don't think were on the assessment card. I know that was mentioned earlier, but that's also not, to my knowledge, it's not on
But the
that.
county actually has a bathhouse
Correct.
and stuff sitting right there.
And to my knowledge, was not permissible according to them. I don't know. I haven't really delved into all that. In saying all this, I did question what actually could be permitted. So he's stating that with DNR, that everything has to be 2 foot above the baseline flood.
Mhm.
Seems pretty tall up there. He did point to a couple of structures that are stilted. The one structure they're permanently living there. I mean, they've stated that. There's a son that lived in one, and then the mom, I believe, lives in another. It's a little log cabin, and then what I would call a long utility type shed that's on stilts. So now that they have come up there, they're addressing the entire area. He's going to be getting with all of the campsites, including the permanent, non-permanent, seasonal, everything above. So I just kind of wanted to bring that out, that I did meet with them. I wasn't understanding, I mean, we don't have anything up there. There are electricity meters. I did question that because he says that Southern Indiana Power was a part of that. They are lifted, elevated, because those are required to be elevated over that level. I did not get permits for the electric, so it must have been prior. I know they've owned it for 2 to 3 years, so it must have been prior if they did get that
They
permit.
weren't there last year.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't know when that permit happened.
No, they weren't there last year because when all this came about, they brought us over all of, I went out there. I mean, it was, and the people that live actually have homes, up above. The traffic is what it was. I mean, they were just, and all this traffic that's gonna be going in and out so much. And there's already a lot of traffic there from the campus center. But I have seen that whole area flood all the way up to the Rome Schoolhouse.
Sure.
There's nothing, it's water.
So I don't know. I just wanted to kind of bring that out there that was brought up. I have explained to him, obviously, if he's putting any structures out there that's above ground, we're gonna have to get a permit for. Even if he's putting some sort of carport type coverings for RV, whatever he's doing, he's gonna have to get a permit for. I did talk to DNR. I was delved into a little bit. He mentioned about the, what I call campsites. They have RVs parked underneath the structure. I questioned some of that because he's now going door to door to all of these owners to make sure they're up to the regulations. And He did state that as long as water can pass through it, so if it's silted with a rooftop, as long as water can pass through it, it's permissible. However, the RV or travel trailer, however, has to be licensed. Current tag, which should be anyhow, but it has to be licensed because they have to be able to pull that out in the event of a flood. And they have to know where the sanitation is going. Whatever that looks like. I know the health official was there also. There's other sanitation issues for those permanent structures. So I'm not sure what that's gonna look like. He is gonna request that those structures, which I guess our role in it, I'm going to need to send them something that says that they have a structure that has been built without a permit, but I honestly can't tell if that was the case. I would have no way of knowing that. I would have to look back. And he's saying that was built in 2017. So that one structure, the stilted one, on the Denver property. Looking that up is gonna be a little bit more difficult. But that would be the only thing that I think our role would be, is just to say that those are not permitted. Other than that, I don't know. He as DNR, is going to be sending an official letter that they have to raise that structure up 2 foot above the base level, and any other structures up there. There's a little cabin that sits there.
Yeah, when this campground started, there was, nobody knew what was going on, because nothing was ever permitted, nothing. That guy just came in and with bulldozers and track holes and let's dig.
Yeah.
And you can't do that when you're in flood ground.
I think he's finding that out now. So is the neighbors though. I mean, that's how that goes. And then I think while he's down here, he's visiting some of the other riverfront type campgrounds. So that's what that looks like, to get everybody up to the proper specs. So just letting you guys in on what that looked like. I don't think there's anything for our board to really do. If anything would be just that structure, and I would have to look at whether I was permitted or not. I can't imagine it being permitted because the previous administrator wouldn't have permitted something in a flood zone, so.
Now I'm wondering about all these campsites with the poles, car poles.
I don't know if they have permits from our county for the building side of it, but they are allowed per DNR since water can flow through it. That's what
No, I'm talking about the electric poles.
the electric posts have, if they're a meter, they have to be 2 foot above that.
Yeah, but were they ever permitted?
I'd have to talk to Southern Indiana, see, they each have meters, so these small shorters for each parking spot is different than the meter itself is the one that has to be 2 foot above the flood.
Yeah, when, Southern Indiana Power is supposed to contact Building and Zoning Commission, okay?
The landowner would have to, and if that happened last year, I don't know
I
when
don't
that,
think it was ever,
I don't
I don't
know.
think it's ever done. I don't think
We never discussed it.
So I don't know, that's one thing we can look into as far as electricity goes. Southern
I mean, I'm
Indiana,
not-
Yeah, Southern Indiana's not supposed to have everything with the permit on
Right.
site.
I'm not
And
down in any campsites, because that's tourism, that's bringing people to the camp.
sure,
But still yet you have to, everybody else has to go by the permits, and it's not right that somebody can come in and do that and not.
sure. I agree with that. I don't visit Rome very often, so I didn't even realize what all was being done up there until
Wow.
DNR sent us this notification that they wanted everybody to meet out there, which we did.
So sanitation is not free,
No, not as of yet. So,
but they're already using it.
no, it's a lot of he said, she said. He's saying he unearthed, several types of tanks that were already put there,
Who did?
this new landowner.
Wouldn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a whole thing. He has to have, you can sink, I did find this out, according to the state, sanitation department, you can, bury a tank, a holding tank, as long as it's still properly inspected by them. I didn't realize you could in flood zone. I assumed that was a no. You can. I think county level, because it is a campground, that's out of her jurisdiction, because they're doing more of a commercial level. So that's why state came in the first place, because it's more than 3, so it's campsites. So then state gets involved versus local county. But our county official is working with them to make sure they're doing that properly. He had some sort of blue barrels, like
Plastic barrels.
plastic barrels, that he doesn't want to explain what he was gonna be doing with those necessarily, but I'm assuming he's gonna make a makeshift septic out of each of those. That would be my guess, like a tank hold, something that a lagoon or something.
As far as
somehow.
Digging up a bunch of them up there, that was never a campsite to start with, that was woods. It was all woods.
So, yeah, so he's stating that he unearthed a concrete one, several blue ones, all kinds of things that he's saying that he dug up. As he said, as you said, I don't know. But
That's gonna work.
no, I was out there, I was, invited to attend as a official of the area as far as, but there's nothing out there even as far as the pond being dug. He did have someone local professional excavator do that, which I'm kind of surprised that they didn't contact anybody about, since it is in flood zone. However, it is what it is, and they're working through that now. I just kind of want to let you guys know. That's our department to
Yeah, I just
Go out
don't
there.
like the idea of doing it and then coming back and saying, oh, I needed a permit.
I definitely
You
think
know,
he's finding that
I
too.
think that's
Yeah,
wrong.
He's dealing with according to DNR, I think they visited multiple times at this point. And so as the state had been, and I think state sanitation, the way I read that is if he continues to do anything further, I think it's gonna be very hard pressed to get anything.
Fish and wildlife, got involved in that too.
It's everybody. He's talked to the Corps of Engineers as well. I think he's working through some other things he didn't realize he had to do.
You know, when you get near that river, believe you me, there's more there than you ever expected.
So that's what that looks like. I don't know that our board is involved with that, but they have been notified and trying to communicate some of that. And I did explain to him that he's building any additional structures that are affixed to the property, no matter what it was, he has to get a permit.
Yeah, yeah, step through us, correct?
Which, yes, we would have to then get approval from DNR before we did anything. It's the whole thing at that point. It's
Right.
a flood zone. So
Yeah.
it's over our heads anyhow, which kind of work there. So make somebody else the buffer on that, yes. So, but that's what that looked like. So the Rome campground talk around. I know you mentioned that you wanted to talk about it too, so.
I got a phone call from, someone, and we just happened to be going out to see family. So I'm like, you know what, let's just drive by there and see if I see the same thing. And so I think the property across from like where the store is, and just down from where the gazebo thing like is, was recently purchased by someone else. So it's a new landowner, and I went and looked, and there were 3 campers on that piece of property. And then they had asked me to go down and look, by the bridge, the swing rope, and down in there were 3 in there too. And so I stopped in and talked to the person who had called me, and they're like, well, I said, you'll need to come to the meeting and formal complaint or da. And so then she called me back a couple days later and said, no, we don't want to do a formal complaint. We don't want to upset our neighbors. We just want to be sure somebody knows this is going on, and that maybe the zoning board could look at changing the rule, because if we change the rule, it would allow the group that was doing the phone calling to go back to having campers on their lot 3 or more.
I do think that the original complaint filer is also becoming part of the target with their sanitation and structure, so I don't think we have to worry about.
For the Derby, you mean they're in Derby, what I'm talking about?
No, in Rome.
Oh, it's not like.
This one, yeah, and then in
Yeah.
Derby.
Now, the person who called me is also the person that we had to move campers. And so this is right across.
Is there a regulation of, say I've got a piece of property and I wanna rent it out for campsites? Is there a regulation that says how many I can have?
Yeah.
3 or more is a campground.
3 or more.
Yeah, if it's just you and a friend or you by yourself, it's 3 more. Also, I did find out about the sanitation. 2 can share one. There were some interesting things. I just didn't realize you would be able to bury a sanitation tank of any kind in a flood zone, but there are regulations for that. So as long as there's a certain type and the way it's sealed and things of that nature, they talked about some of that while I was up there, which was
I
interesting.
just told Dan that if they wanted us to go any further with it, we'd have to have a formal complaint, come to a meeting or have put it in writing and sign it and send this to us, and they called back and said, no, we don't want to do that. I'm like, okay.
I have a feeling that some of the state officials will be driving our riverfront throughout the county after that meeting we had.
Well, I think there are a lot of families that have farm ground that's on the river, and they pull 2 or 3 or 4 campers up there and enjoy a family get together,
I
yeah.
don't have a big problem with that as long as their sanitation isn't
Yeah.
getting somewhere in.
Yeah, usually I think it's in the camper itself, it's in the holding cell, but it's one of the problem is when somebody complains about it, and then we don't have the choice but
Have to
to
address
write
it.
down and address it.
So yeah, I think that's what's going on throughout. I could be wrong, but they're hanging out in the road for a while. I will say that much. So.
There is a lot of campgrounds or campsites and within the counties, it's.
Sure.
Well,
Well,
maybe
that's the
legal and
employment, yeah.
illegal, they're still there.
Yeah, that's the employment of the county, but, yeah, to make it legal. So. That was up in Derby. I think we live on a river and everybody's enjoying this as recreational ground, and some of it is lack of knowledge, some of it is lack of concern. So
It'd be interesting to find out where the number 3 came from. 3 or more is a campground, even if it's on private property. It'd be interesting to see why that number 3 was there. Why isn't it 4? Why isn't it 2? Why was it?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't either. Waiting for our time.
It's kind of like low density subdivision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know why it's like that, but.
Yeah.
That's what it's named as, and she even was talking, he continued to say that he can maybe just survey out each individual and sell them off individually, and she said you can, when you do, it was just a bunch of stuff about septic mainly, but I then further explained, it's like, yes, but any structure for our department, you would need to come. So,
See, something like that, I mean, how small them lots gonna be, that'd be a high density subdivision. If it's little bitty small things, and that's where, that's.
and yeah, and I
that's
told
deep.
him,
I mean,
literally.
that's
I mean, they've got,
really deep.
they've got,
We gotta prove
But-
things, DNR, it's pretty tight.
They are,
they are tied up there.
there's another one in our county that has, it's surveyed out. It's surveyed out separately. Now, whether they recorded that or not, I don't know. But Rocky Point is completely surveyed out separately. All of those campsites are. So it's a similar concept. Like I said, I don't know if he ever recorded that, but I know that's been surveyed out individually. There's like 57 of them up there, I think. This
In
gentleman,
Rome?
No, it.
Rocky Point. Okay, I was like, what were they thinking?
in Rome, there's 42.
But that's back on the creek also. There at Rocky Point.
Yeah, that's side, that's inland too.
Yeah.
So this is 40, he's now made 42 of what he's saying was originally, I thought he said 21 was there, so he's like doubled it, it sounds like, or that's the number that I remember. So then I don't know, if he's, I just can't see it on a different level, I can't see it being profitable, but however, because he's got an engineer working on the lot of it, everything to do with that. He hired one of our professionals locally to excavate that. I mean, he's spending a lot of money up there for what looks like nothing, to be honest. I mean, I was there, it's gravel and stuff.
First good flood, they'll.
I like
they'll be
attracting
charged
all
right
those
there.
people to the county.
I
like that part of it.
She goes.
Yeah.
First good flood, bye.
Yeah, gravel,
That's good.
so I don't
And not
know, so,
only gravel, I mean, it'll affect a lot more than that.
yeah, anything they left. And I think that was the idea of DNR. They said, the Ohio River, you have like 7 to 10 days notice before flood. It's not like those flash that happens in Texas and things of that nature. But he said that it has to be able to where you can pull the equipment out to get it out of the flood, because you cannot disrupt the floodway. So, in order for us to keep our flood policies. He doesn't want that to become a problem, of course.
I mean, I live on the river, I know, we see what goes down the river and up the creeks and during floods. I mean, it's amazing.
Mhm.
It was entertaining as a kid.
Oh, yeah, we used to, my girls did too. They'd get on four-wheelers and head to the river after it went down. Come home with all kinds of stuff.
So that's pretty much the nutshell. I don't know if anybody has anything they want to add to that or anything of that nature.
Thank you for going out and doing all that.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, it's
It
probably
was educational.
interesting to you too, you know, because
Parts of it were, you know, it was different. I mean, I don't visit Rome very often, so it's a nice little trip, I guess.
it's pretty up there.
It really is. It's pretty. So that's it. If someone make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're all done.
All right. I need to go figure out what to do next, right?
Yeah.
That's all your college
Not
students.
just that, but